Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, Defense Minister Wayne Sturge has maintained that information on the country's military capabilities, defense assets, or requests for equipment cannot be disclosed to the public. That is something that I think we should all understand, including the Akash media, but for some reason, they refuse to acknowledge that fact. In a statement yesterday, he said such matters must remain confidential to protect national security and operational effectiveness. On Thursday, at the America's Counter Cartel Conference in Miami, Florida, USA, Sturge appealed to U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth for assets to be provided to Trinidad and Tobago to assist in combating drug cartels operating in the Caribbean. My response: the leftist jihadist media, the Akash media of Trinidad and Tobago, should explain to the population why they're so intent on revealing what type of relationship Trinidad and Tobago has with the United States of America under the Kamla Persad-Bissessar administration. Don't you want crime to be reduced, Akash, Samaru, and crew? Don't you? So why are you caring so much about sovereignty, as though we can combat or we can fight against crime and international drug mafia on our own? Don't they understand that criminals and even terrorists are waiting patiently to be provided with any type of information which can be used to evade arrest or capture, whether on the seas or within our country? I heard Akash Samaru say that he will ask the Prime Minister about our sovereignty in the first place. I wonder how Akash Samaru still was allowed to enter America, even though CNC3 is pushing so much anti-American sort of rhetoric. But once again, you see, the thing about it is the Republicans and the Conservatives really do respect democracy and diplomacy, and that's why they would allow even the fake news media to interview them. A well-educated and experienced journalist, because he's definitely well-educated, an experienced journalist doesn't know that our little island is incapable of defending ourselves against local or foreign radical terrorists or communists. Will he, Akash Samaru, fight for us? He really thinks that the meme that was made with the Superman suit on or something like that was what, literal? Is he aware that many of our other sovereign nations around the world pay the USA to assist in protecting them from enemy nations? Do you think they care about sovereignty? Do you think those nations in the Middle East care about sovereignty, including even, I believe, Qatar has a US base there? Do you think they care about sovereignty? And they still sovereign nations, Akash Samaru? Do you think that they're worried about losing their sovereignty, sir? My goodness, people, stop being obsessed with hating our colonial past. Because that's the whole thing about it, it all boils back down to people like Akash Samaru and the CNC3 crew and the TV6 crew and the PNM crew. All they think about is colonialism, as though colonialism was bad. Yes, there were certain aspects of it that was wrong. Don't get me wrong. There were certain aspects of it was wrong. But at the end of the day, people, that is how we have a democracy today. That's how we are a civilized nation today. That's how Christianity was spread throughout the entire world. I am, for one, very grateful for Western civilization and even for our colonial past. Don't go anywhere. More local, regional, and international news up next. U.S. President Donald Trump greeted Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar at the Shield of the Americas Summer Summit in Doral, Florida yesterday. The meeting also included other selected heads of state and government, including Guyana's President Dr. Irfan Ali. The Prime Minister, together with Minister of Public Utilities and Minister in the Ministry of the Office of the Prime Minister, Barry Padarat, Ministers of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Sean Sobers, also held bilateral discussions with U.S. Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright, on Saturday at the Shield of the Americas Summit in Doral, Florida. Also, there's a video circulating online on TikTok where President Trump handed the pen that he used to sign the treaty or the deal or whatever you want to call it, handed it to our Prime Minister. There were so many people around him. other people on his other side and so forth. And he handed the pen over to her, of all people. Now, of course, she acted a little goofy and she was, kind of like overwhelmed or whatsoever. You know, it is to be standing up next to the president of the greatest country on earth. I mean, come on, people. Yes, I'm not really much of a fan person or whatsoever, but that would have been a very significant experience for her. But besides that, being given that pen was very significant, people. And even somebody that commented on the video on TikTok made it clear that if you Google it, that is a very significant gesture. It shows trust. It shows admiration. It shows respect. It shows that Donald Trump considers our little island and our prime minister as a significant ally, especially in the fight against terrorism and communism and so forth. That was something very significant, and yet, of course, they were making fun of it on TikTok. All right, but anyhow, getting back to this particular thing here, my response, our Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, will now be recognized around the entire world as one of America's closest allies, along with Israel and Guyana. He could have given it to Irfan Ali, though, but remember, our Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, is boldly and proudly standing up with the United States of America, even though she is being condemned by the entire Caribbean region. That's why Donald Trump respects her so much. Our nation will benefit significantly with increased national security and foreign investments, which will assist in reviving TNT's economy. This is what happens when you put aside tribal politics and embrace Western civilization values and principles. Now, a lot of people, one particular person commented, and I'm happy that the person commented. More people are free to comment as well on my YouTube channels. And the person said, but isn't this the same person that also condemns a lot of what the government, the UNC government is doing? Yes, people. And I've said that from the very beginning, and I will continue to say that. I will give credit when credit is due, but I will also hold them accountable when they are going astray. And I will continue to say I do not agree with the taxes, the fees, and the fines, and the SOE. But I have also acknowledged, even in those same videos, that I do know for a fact that even though I disagree with those things, they are going to govern this country much better than the People's National Movement.
But on this historic day, we come together to announce a brand new military coalition to eradicate the criminal cartels plaguing our region. And you have a lot of it. One of the things when we were talking backstage, you were telling me the crime, the cartels, and we're knocking the hell out of them where we can. We're going to go heavier. You saw what we were doing with the boats coming in. The boats, there's not a lot of people coming in by boats anymore. We knocked down drugs coming in by sea. Drugs coming in through water is down 96%. We're trying to find out who the other 4% are, because I think they're the bravest people in the world. Either that or they don't watch television, right? They're either very brave or they're not watching. But we're calling this military partnership the America's Counter Cartel Coalition. And that's what you need. You have cartels. They seem to grow in this region unbelievably rapidly. It has to do with drugs largely. Earlier this week here in Miami, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who's right here. Pete, you are fantastic, doing a great job. We're proud of you. And representatives of 17 different nations formally entered this new alliance. The heart of our agreement is a commitment to using lethal military force to destroy the sinister cartels and terrorist networks once and for all. We'll get rid of them.
The TNT Manufacturers Association, TTMA, has issued an urgent call for government intervention, warning that chronic delays in value-added tax refunds are paralyzing key sectors of the national economy. While that is designed to be a tax-neutral mechanism where businesses collect revenue for the state and offset it against input costs, the TTMA reports that the system has effectively broken down. Yes, and I'm okay with you raising the issue, but that was an issue that was the country has been facing because of PNM's neglect and incompetence for 9.5, almost 10 years, people. And of course, the UNC inherited almost a bankrupt treasury, and therefore they cannot do everything at once. I want them to start to do more though, because I mean, you are imposing taxes and fees and fines, and therefore you are generating revenue along with the oil monies and whatsoever else. But people, you still have to have a little patience and understanding as well that they can't do everything one time. But this is an issue, definitely, I agree, needs to be addressed. The People's National Movement is defending its lady vice chairman and head of the party's National Women's League, Dr. Nyan Gadsby Dolly, after she faced criticism for sharply rebuking the Prime Minister's call to expel misbehaved students from school. Just imagine that. The People's National Movement, who claim that the United National Congress members are those who just blindly support their leader, which sometimes they do. I'm not denying that. But the PNM is the master of those things, because look at it. At the end of the day, I've said it over and over again. There are certain individuals in those schools that only attend school to push certain types of things, push gang culture, and also to traffic certain products that they're not supposed to be trafficking, and also commit extreme acts of violence and gang recruitment. These are issues that need to be addressed outside of the school system, and that's why expulsion is important. I'm not saying to just turn your back away from these misguided youths. No. Put them in correctional institutes. If they commit serious crimes, then prosecution and imprisonment as well. That is what needs to be done. So the Prime Minister, once again, is 100% correct in when she's saying that these individuals need to be expelled from the school system. The schools are is for education. That is the purpose of having schools. The teachers are not equipped to be able to impart or have that type of disciplinary action with these students. It is not a correctional institute, people. And therefore, all you're doing is tormenting the lives of all the students and teachers when you allow these young zesters and baddest to remain in the school system. One of the West Indies women's cricket's most experienced campaigners has called time on her international career. She's therefore retiring. Brittany Cooper has announced her retirement from international cricket, closing the chapter on a 17-year cricket career. That is a long career, especially in the world of cricket. That saw her represent the region in 125 matches across ODIs and T20 internationals. A right-handed batter and wicket keeper, she accumulated 575 runs in 49 ODIs, and 633 across 76 T20 matches. Well, I wish her all the best in her future endeavors. The thing about it is I will continue to say that I don't really think that the new generation of cricketers, whether in the women's category or the men's category, definitely the men's category, are really putting they're not really entering the sport for the right reason. And that is why it's more about fame and fortune and just that's basically about it. It's not really about the game and the passion for the game and striving for excellence as the older heads used to in the past. Now, I'm not saying this in particular about her. I haven't really watched much women's cricket, and they didn't really become prominent until just about a decade or two ago. So I'm wishing her all the best, and I wish the best for the West Indies cricket men and women's team. I honestly believe though it should be they should dismantle the whole West Indies type of teams in the first place and allow all the individual islands to compete on their own. I believe we are going to succeed a whole lot more if that happens. Regional news up next.
One of West Indies women's cricket's most experienced campaigners has called time on her international career. Brittany Cooper has announced her retirement from international cricket, closing the chapter on a 17-year career that saw her represent the region in 125 matches across both ODIs and T20 internationals. A right-handed batter and wicket keeper, Cooper accumulated 579 runs in 49 ODIs and 633 runs across 76 T20 internationals. Cooper made her debut in South Africa in 2009 and in her retirement announcement on social media accounts, listed winning the ICC Women's T20 World Cup in 2016 among her proudest moments of her career. She says wearing those colors and standing for the anthem has meant more to me than words can fully express. Cooper confirmed she will continue to represent Trinidad and Tobago at the domestic level.
The weather update for Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday, March 8, 2026, is forecast to be mostly sunny and breezy/windy. General forecast. Conditions. Predominantly sunny day despite a few brisk, isolated showers. Winds. Breezy to windy conditions are expected, with the potential for gusts near showers. Saharan dust. A mild concentration remains present in the atmosphere. Sensitive persons should take precautions. Temperature and humidity location forecast. Max temp forecast. Min temp. Piarco, Trinidad, 31 degrees Celsius, 22 degrees Celsius to 24 degrees Celsius. Crown Point, Tobago, 30 degrees Celsius, 23 degrees Celsius to 24 degrees Celsius. Humidity, expected to average around 61% to 65% during the day. UV index, very high, index 8 to 9, requiring sun protection. Marine outlook, hazardous seas alert. A yellow level alert is in effect until Monday, March 9th at 6 p.m. Sea conditions, rough in open waters with waves reaching 2.5 meters to 3.0 meters. Sheltered areas, up to 2.0 meters and occasionally choppy. Marine interests should exercise extreme caution. Swimmers should be aware of a higher risk of strong rip currents.
Surrounded by leaders from across the Americas, including Guyana's President Dr. Irfan Ali, U.S. President Donald Trump signed a proclamation committing to the dismantling of cartels, drug cartels, and foreign terrorist organizations operating in the Western Hemisphere. So for all the PNM patriots and all the Caribbean patriots who say that Trump was only targeting Maduro, look at what is taking place here. And I mean, a lot of we have seen it. A lot of the vessels that were targeted wasn't only in Venezuelan waters. But the PNM patriots don't want to hear about that because they just want to push one particular narrative for their personal agenda. The signing took place at the Shield of the Americas Summit on Saturday in Doral, Miami, Florida. My response? Meanwhile, the rest of Caribbean leaders continue to align themselves with communists and jihadists because they refuse to end tribalism. Western civilization has provided all of these nations, leaders and citizens with their democratic style of governance, and yet they're choosing to abandon this freedom in concept. They're really actually removing democracy from their countries, but in concept because of our colonial past. I, for one, thank God that our region was colonized, and I'm grateful that the gospel of Jesus Christ was introduced to all our peoples, both in our motherlands and here in the Caribbean. Jamaica's decision to end its 50-year medical cooperation with Cuba has triggered concerns about how the move might impact the country's bilateral medical scholarship program, with at least one scholarship recipient already making contingency plans should the initiative also be scrapped. The person said, I pray it doesn't have to get to that point. The student who requested anonymity told the Jamaica Gleaner. The student, who has been studying medicine in Cuba under the scholarship for almost 2 years, said she and her parents have begun exploring other options. My response? Now, of course, I hope the deal or whatsoever, the arrangement doesn't end, okay? But my response is, Thankfully, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is beginning to lean on the conservative side of politics, which appears to be the reason why he's promoting democracy along with free and fair elections in our region. Hopefully the time will come when he will boldly and fully support Western civilization principles, because at this point, they are denying that they ended these programs because of the request coming out from Washington, D.C., United States of America, the Trump administration. And as I said before, what needs to happen is that Trump takes action in Cuba, just as he took in Venezuela and in but he didn't finish his job in Venezuela. But diplomacy is being restored, so hopefully it will have free and fair elections under probably American supervision. And definitely he is taking action in Iran. Once diplomacy and democracy is restored in Cuba, people, all sorts of diplomatic relations will be restored as well, just like in Venezuela. So I went on to say, hopefully the time will come when he, Andrew Holness, will boldly and fully support Western civilization principles, laws, and values. America, sir, is your greatest and most important ally. Gregory Nichols has stepped down from his post as vice president of the Barbados Cricket Association. Nichols was elevated to vice president from secretary following the BCA elections. Last month, he was elected a member of parliament for the constituency of St. Thomas and named as minister in the cabinet. A WhatsApp message shared with members of the board of the BCA from Nichols reads, "Dear colleagues, it is with a heavy heart that I now write to you. I've decided to resign my post of vice president of the BCA effective immediately. This decision was not made lightly, but it is and was the right thing to do, given my appointment to the cabinet of Barbados and the demanding requirements and obligations, you are now a minister, and that's going to take up a whole lot of your time, and obligations of my being elected as the member of parliament for St. Thomas." I mean, those are great responsibilities, and therefore, yeah, you shouldn't be sharing that or having some other sort of significant duty to be carrying out, other than best being a minister serving the people of your country.
Yeah, this morning I communicated with the BCA formally that I was resigning my position as the vice president of the Barbados Cricket Association. I became vice president last year after the BCA elections. I was successfully elected again as secretary of the BCA, but our vice president was elected as president, and the vacancy ensued. And at the first board meeting, the board collectively made me the vice president. Having been elected as a member of parliament for St. Thomas, and being appointed by the Prime Minister to the position of Minister of Home Affairs and Information, I've come to the conclusion that I can't fulfill both roles with the zeal and enthusiasm that I have for cricket at this point in time. My commitment has to be first and foremost with the people of St. Thomas, and secondly to ensure that the government's agenda in the ministerial portfolio which I have been assigned to is executed to the best of my ability.
Bahamian filmmakers are stepping further into the spotlight, and last night's red carpet premiere of Here Comes Trouble was a celebration of that talent, storytelling, and the growing impact of the Bahamian film industry. I wish them all the best. I mean, those smaller islands, they don't have an energy industry to be able to boost their economy. They depend on tourism, and of course, the film industry, if it continues to grow, that will be very good for them. It will definitely generate a whole lot of foreign revenue that is needed to govern their country and maintain infrastructure and healthcare and so forth.
A night filled with anticipation, excitement, and red carpet elegance, as supporters of the arts celebrated Bahamian storytelling on the big screen. Guests stepping out in style, filling the Atlantis Theater in support of local filmmakers and actors behind the new Bahamian film, Here Comes Trouble. For writer and producer Heath Fowler, the premiere represents a vision, years in the making.
Oh yes, this like I said, this is vision. Our vision is just growing now. We just scratching the surface, so to speak. Like I said, this is my second film. and we do have some other projects in the pipeline.
Fowler says bringing the project to life is just the beginning, as Bahamian creatives continue working toward putting the country on the map in the film industry. Local filmmakers like Dario Erics Poitier says moments like this show the industry here at home is moving in the right direction.
I guess it shows that we are moving in the right direction. Bahamians are capable of doing things on a global stage, you know. Most of all, I guess I would say we just need our own to believe in us so that we can really take this thing to the world and more or less bring the world back home to the Bahamas.
And while the film highlights Bahamian talent on screen, it was also a night for supporters to show up and show out for the industry. One moviegoer, Michelle Bethel Gibson, says she and her friends made it a girls' night out, not just for entertainment, but to support Bahamian creators.
How about chilling with your significant other or girls? Hey, my family, my girls, we're out together. How about happy hour at a play where Bahamians are being recognized for their gifts and their talent? And what's better way to pay it forward, to let them get paid for a change by us supporting our own talent right here in the Bahamas?
Reporting for our news, I'm Kindino Knowles.
International news now. President Donald Trump said Saturday that the United States and Latin American countries are banding together to combat violent cartels as his administration looks to demonstrate it remains committed to sharpening U.S. foreign policy focus on the Western Hemisphere, even while dealing with 5 alarm crises around the globe. That's the thing about it. As people said, people were trying to push the narrative that Donald Trump was only focusing on Maduro. Does this look as though he's focusing on Maduro alone? Come on, PNM Patriots. Try to make sense when you're seeing things online. Speaking about around the globe, U.S. President Donald Trump demands Iran's unconditional surrender. Finally, I'm telling you, he's finishing the job. This is what we were hoping for nearly a year now. So Trump demands Iran's unconditional surrender in the ongoing conflict, stating there will be no deal otherwise. The deal now is to step down. He wrote on Truth Social after that, and the selection of a great and acceptable leader or leaders, we and many of our wonderful and very brave allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction, making it economically bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. The statement comes amid escalating U.S. and Israeli military operations against Iran, with reports of heavy airstrikes in Tehran and Beirut. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has announced mediation efforts are underway. It have no mediation anymore. Step down. But Trump's demand for unconditional surrender has raised concerns about a diplomatic solution. My response online, finally, Trump is using wisdom. When they're asking for this mediation, it's just to delay stuff, you know, people. That is all. The Iranians will never agree to actually end any of the Ayatollah, not the Iranians. But the Iranians want liberation, but the Ayatollah do not want to make any sort of genuine deal with the United States of America. So finally, Trump is using wisdom. You can't negotiate with terrorists who will never stop attempting to wipe Israel and USA off the face of the earth. Finish the job, President Donald Trump. Now for the interesting facts segment, an inspiring act of kindness in North Carolina has touched people across the internet. 85-year-old widow Nana Abernathy contacted Britain's Tree and Crane Service asking if she could receive firewood because she couldn't afford it anymore. Instead of simply delivering wood, owner Paul Britton went far beyond expectations, repairing her car, fixing roof damage, and restoring her heating and AC system at no cost. No cost. He later helped organize a fundraiser that reportedly raised about $20,000, giving Abernathy much needed support and reminding many people of the power of generosity. Now, this is the type of wonderful facts that I love to share with everyone that views my videos.
Welcome to Real Conservative News Travel Adventures. Washington, D.C., the U.S. Capitol, is a vibrant, walkable city packed with iconic, free landmarks and museums. Visitors can explore the National Mall's monuments, like the Lincoln and Jefferson Memorials, the U.S. Capitol, and the White House. Top spots include Smithsonian museums, the Library of Congress, and charming neighborhoods like Georgetown. Key highlights and tips iconic landmarks. Visit the Lincoln Memorial, Washington Monument, and W Memorial. World-class museums. Explore the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History, National Air and Space Museum, and the National Gallery of Art. Government centers. Tour the U.S. Capitol and White House. Book in advance.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe. Most of all, in Jesus' name.